So welcome. I'm Linda Jackson. I'm the president and founder of the Association for Community Empowerment Solutions, ACES World. On behalf of our team, I would like to welcome you to our series of conversations about girls' education. ACES World works to support women and girls in Colombia, Ghana, and Uganda. We work toward gender equality and supporting women and girls to achieve their full potential. We also founded the Gender Equality Data Collaborative to assist member NGOs with data collection, monitoring, and evaluation. The GEDC has 50 member organizations in 10 countries. If you have any questions you'd like to ask, feel free to put them in the chat in either English or in French. We'll be conducting this conversation in English and in French. The questions will appear in the chat, and you will hear Christine's answers in both French and English. We are pleased to host this conversation with Dr. Christine Bachi-Morel. Dr. Morel is the president and a volunteer for Youth in Distress International Human Rights. She is involved in various development aid projects in Africa, such as drinking water in West Africa, literacy for women, and health and education precautions against COVID-19. She's also a European Relations Coordinator for the Swiss Association of University Women Graduates. Youth in Distress International, working in collaboration with Benin Solidarity Without Borders, operates 2 projects in Southwest Benin. Welcome, Christine.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank Mrs. Jackson, who gives me this opportunity to speak. I am very, very flattered, very honored indeed. But I will start with English. French girls have to go to school to finish, and they went to primary school until even university school. But up to now, there is still a gap. The problem is that the situation is losing ground in relationship to the evolution of human society today. However, the situation of women deserves to be reconsidered as they aspire to well-being, which is in line with objectives of major international bodies such as the UN.
So Christine, yes. Tell me a little bit about your family. Can you tell me something about your family and growing up?
About my family and growing up, I will say that I was born from a family of 8 children, from a father who was a teacher, and a mother who is she's still there, housewife. Mm-hmm. Then I have 6 brothers and 1 sister, and all of us, we went to school. We went to school, and as I finished my secondary school in Benin, I joined my brother who was already doing his studies, his doctoral studies in Paris. And I would say that the problems that I was confronted with was younger people of my age. Mainly it was about how do I say? It was about the advance that teachers could do to girls. That was really dreadful, because you, as a girl, a teenager, you were confronted to that, and you are between that fact and the education that your parents gave you to protect you against things like that. So you are, how do I say? Yes, it was difficult being teenagers to this advance of certain teachers and the code of conduct taught by our parents. Out of respect to them and the love I had for them, I didn't want to hurt them, their feelings. Nothing to do to disappoint them, but it was hard. The body was demanding needs. The problem caused many young girls to drop out of school. The second problem was the menstrual cycle, which I think that is probably referring to that. I am not sure, but I feel that. It was, well, let me say, it was discussed with my mother and very little among girlfriends. The question of the menstrual cycle was discussed in a confidential manner since it was very intimate and personal. Even now, it was not an obstacle for me to go to school. I must admit that the good understanding with my parents and their social status facilitated my many things in family life, and I am still grateful to my mother and to my father, who is no more alive, who died at 105 years old. I used to discuss everything with him. Follow up in education is a key issue in every respect, and the nuclear family is a foundation of great strength. That's what I could say about the second question, please. I don't know if you could understand the briefing, but
oh no, it was perfect. I understood perfectly, and I think our audience would as well. Just addressing issues that girls have to face with teachers in school, inappropriate advances from teachers, as well as the challenges of menstruation, and how growing up you had a family that was very supportive. But even in that situation, the taboos were still of concern, that people did not want to talk about these things, and you talked about them with your girlfriends but also with your family. So that is very helpful. So I think the next question we have was talking about Youth in Distress International and your water well project, and how the lessons that you learned there might help other projects that have gender equality as a part of them.
Mm-hmm. Well, about gender, about our project with Youth in Distress, our NGO, in the respect to consider the equality between gender, to consider gender equality. To start, we invited both the genders, men and women, to be at that place in the same time, simultaneously. And for the information to start. Then we did the what do you say? Sensibiliser, sensitize them together, because if the land belongs to men, the duty of the women is to go to fetch water far away. So we have to be equal to induce the changement of the state mind, not always to carry on like it used to be, because women, they face a lot of problems. So they have to mind the children, to do the meal, to even go to farms, and yet, so the time was there to put them at the same level to speak about what concerns their population, or both of them as man and woman, because they are complementary. There is a complementarity between them, and they have to try to go through that new settlement or something like that. Yes.
So, Christine, would you like to also share that answer with our French-speaking audience as well?
French?
Yes. Would you like to give that answer in French for our audience in French?
Okay, I will give that in French. Bon, voilà. Je disais que, is that what you want to say?
Yes, the same answer about your project that you gave in English, if you would give it also in French.
Yes, of course. Donc, je disais que pour les femmes, pour respecter l'égalité des genres, quant à ce qui concerne les projets de jeunesse en détresse, notamment l'accès à l'eau potable, ce que nous avons fait, on a convoqué les deux genres, hommes et femmes à la fois, simultanément. Ils étaient au lieu, tous de là, l'homme, les hommes et les femmes. On n'a pas voulu faire de distinction en disant que oui, non. Et donc, pour cette information, ils étaient tous là à entendre ce que nous voulions leur porter comme bonheur dans la localité. Puis, la deuxième chose, c'était la sensibilisation. On les a sensibilisés au fait que c'est vrai, la terre appartient aux hommes, et puis c'est les femmes qui vont quand même aller chercher de l'eau. Eh bien, c'est le moment de jouer le jeu de l'égalité. On ne va pas continuer à mettre l'homme sur le piédestal. Ben, on est égaux à ce niveau-là. Et c'est ce qui a été fait pour nos projets. C'est ça.
Thank you. So, next, we are just talking about the equality between boys and girls in their completion of secondary school. Mm-hmm. So we know that the rate of completion of secondary school in Benin is about 60%, but then for girls, it's only about 60% of those girls of the same rate as boys. So talk to us about how the strategies that can be used to help girls complete secondary school.
Voilà. To complete the secondary school, well, girls have to, society has to manage to consider girls as an entity who needs the same respect as boys. Because the thing is, they used to consider too much of girls, boys, and girls couldn't be at ease at school, meaning that there are a kind of violence against women, the girls. Violence in many kinds, and it's discouraging them, because girls, when they used to be teased in their intimacy, it doesn't help them to face what they have to do. And why? I don't know if you are approaching the question of what prevents them to go to school. I don't know if is that exactly. So the same thing is the gender. At one time, we even used to say to girls, one girl sending a girl to school has no results. That is dreadful. Honestly, when you are a girl and you are told that, it hits in your ears, And the same parents, they hear that all the time, and it never finishes, and it discourages as well girls to go to school. It discourages parents to send them to school, and they prefer to keep them at home. They just ask them even to stay at home because others didn't go to school, and they could have this and that, and that is very, very sad. It's very sad. That is the reason why certain girls just don't go to school. And not only that, parents sometimes they could find the girl to become pregnant because the teachers go around them, and it doesn't help at all. And that mentality needs to be discouraged, honestly.
That is perfect. Thank you. If you would like to give that answer in French as well, and then for the next question, I think what we'll do is we'll have you just give a sentence at a time, and Lixane will translate for us as we go along. So if you could give the answer in French, and then I'll ask the next question, and if you could just answer it one sentence at a time, then Lixane can translate as we go along.
Luxène, est-ce que tu peux me rappeler un peu la question de Madame Jackson? Parce que j'ai répondu, mais il y a des choses que je voudrais vraiment avoir de façon précise, que je n'ai pas bien capté. Voudrais-tu bien, s'il vous plaît, voudriez-vous bien me rappeler la question, que je puisse bien la cerner?
Bien sûr.
So, Lixane, I think what we'll do is we'll ask Christine to answer the next question, but to answer the question maybe a sentence at a time so that you can respond as she answers the question. Okay. So,
is that me to speak or Lixane?
So, Lixane?
Yes. Yes.
So if you would just relay that message, translate that for Christine, please.
OK. Madame Jackson est en train de dire qu'elle va poser la question. Lorsqu'elle demande la question, vous allez le dire en français et moi, je vais le traduire en anglais.
Est-ce que c'est la question relative à l'UNESCO qu'elle a posée tout à l'heure?
Yes. It's the question for...
So the question,
okay.
Question 4.
Okay, question 4. Okay. Ouais, la stratégie pour améliorer avec efficacité les études secondaires chez les filles, c'est qu'il faudrait que si l'État pourrait redoubler d'ardeur à la mise en place d'une politique spécifique en vue d'empêcher les filles de suspendre leur étude, ce serait une bonne chose.
Okay.
Deuxièmement.
Right. So Christine, if you could just allow Lixing to translate as you go along. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, the strategies to improve girls' completion of secondary school will be the government has to double the effort to put in place a specific policy to encourage girls not to suspend their secondary education.
Le deuxième point que je voudrais suggérer aussi, c'est de trouver un moyen de décourager les abus sexuels sur les élèves et les représailles en cas de refus. La troisième
is to find a way to discourage sexual abuse of students and retaliation for refusal. Indeed, the state has to develop the state developed already a measure, but the application is not easy because of the rules.
Alors, le dernier point dans ce sens-là, c'est de mettre des personnes de bonne loi à la disposition afin que les filles puissent partager en toute confiance leurs difficultés pour trouver des solutions opérationnelles.
The third point is we need to make available good people so that girls can confine easily to them. like sharing the difficulty to find good solutions.
Okay. All right. So thank you for that question. Thank you, Luxane. So the next question, girls schooling is still a challenge in Benin, especially in the north. Why do girls in the north of Benin have more difficulty?
Okay. In Benin, au Bénin, très tôt, l'excision, le mariage de la fille, c'est quelque chose qui est vite mis en perspective. Et donc, à 14 ans déjà, la fille est mariée. Le phénomène de l'excision et du mariage sont des outils de pouvoir entre les mains des ascendants, de leurs géniteurs. Et c'est ainsi que les femmes sont soumises aux hommes. Et c'est les pères, les géniteurs, qui détiennent les rênes. Vraiment, c'est ça. Et puis, dans le Nord, il faut savoir une chose, que la population est nomade. C'est des peuls qui vivent d'activités pastorales, agro-pastorales.
Okay.
L'élevage des bovins.
So, Luxane, can you translate so far, please?
Yes. First of all, because of girls' circumcision and marriage carried out at the age of 14, girls and women have no say before the father authority. So the girls in the north of Benin are nomad. People, they are nomad. They're not, in the early, the girl's circumcision is carried out and the girl marriage is already in place. People are, yes, basically that's what we have. So we have the first reason is that we have a girl's circumcision and the marriage is carried out at the age of 14. So we have girls and women who have no say before their parents' authority. So it's the man world that is in power. So no say for the women and girls.
Thank you, Luxane. Christine?
OK. Donc, les filles sont associées à l'activité d'élevage en conduisant le bétail, en préparant du lait caillé, en préparant du fromage artisanal qui s'appelle le wargage. Ben, c'est bien des activités qui leur apportent, qui leur procurent des revenus. Donc, voilà aussi une des raisons, plusieurs raisons qui font que les parents mobilisent leurs filles sous leur autorité en les maintenant à la maison pour aller leur rendre pour les aider à la maison. Donc,
another reason is that those people, they are nomad, called by the name of Pearl. They are farmers as well as the girls. Girls help their parents to carry out boy tasks as well, to help financially the parents. Girls, to help them, the girls cook. They even sell traditional cheese called the wagage and sour milk in the market. Thank you.
Okay. Christine?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So many children in Benin participate in child labor. Can you talk about how child labor limits their access to education?
Yes. Okay. In Benin, children, they are very active in activities which could provide them some revenue. For instance, they could sell things in the market, helping their mother selling, we say in French, petit commerce, and they sell carbon as well. And they help in farms activities. Their implication contributes a lot to the domestic economy, to the, we say in French, il contribue beaucoup à l'économie domestique, ce qui constitue un grand soulagement pour les parents. Hein, les parents trouvent en ces activités une forme d'éducation avant même la pénétration étrangère. C'est une forme d'éducation très prégnante dans l'imaginaire social. On ne peut pas avoir des enfants à la maison et dire que oui, voilà, ces enfants qui ne puissent pas aider à la maison. Ça, c'est là que commence pour le commun des mortels l'éducation même. Et donc, c'est de l'éducation traditionnelle. Et ça commence comme ça, comme ils apprennent à rentrer dans la vie. Donc, please, listen, if you could translate.
Thank you. In Benin, children are active in all kinds of activities, which involve helping with sales in small businesses, like selling hydrocarbon and carry out countryside activities. They contribute a lot to the national economy, much to the relief of their parents as a form of traditional education existing since colonization. It's a form of education that has a strong influence on the social imagination of people.
Okay, so thank you. So how exactly can we talk a bit about child marriage, a little bit more about child marriage and the fact that so many girls, about 26% of girls are married by the age of 18?
Okay. Bon, le mariage forcé ou le mariage de mineurs est un fléau dont les raisons s'enracinent vraiment dans la culture. Dès le jeune âge, c'est vrai, comme on vient de le dire en quelque sorte, l'idéal chose présentée à la petite fille, c'est d'être mariée. C'est le mariage pour plusieurs raisons. Premièrement, la fille vierge jouit d'une considération que celle qui ne l'est pas ne jouit pas. Cette virginité lui est préservée et puis elle est très respectée pour ça. Bon, voilà. Et l'objectif attendu dans le mariage, à partir de ce fait-là, c'est le mariage à l'état de virginité. C'est attendu et il ne faut pas louper. Voilà, ça c'est une des raisons. Et puis la dot. La dot est une forme de contre-don. Elle est un moyen d'équiper la fille qui va se mettre en mariage et c'est aussi l'opportunité pour les parents de se faire un peu d'argent et de biens meubles. Donc voilà les raisons qui font que les acteurs se lancent dans un tel mariage. Et le mariage forcé, je vous le dis encore, c'est est par ailleurs une raison symbolique de nouer les liens entre deux familles, entre deux clans. Ça s'appelle, en termes anthropologiques, c'est le mariage prescrit. Et le système de filiation étant patrilinéaire, c'est le père qui décide de ce qui doit être.
Okay, let's give Lexine a chance to go ahead, Lexine.
Okay.
Sa décision prévaut.
Another age girl who's, so the reason we know that child marriage is a serious problem rooted in culture in Benin. An underage girl who is a virgin before entering marriage enjoy more life than the one who is not married. Therefore, she feels protected and free, but at the same time, she's being watched by her parents. As a tradition, a girl has to be a virgin to get married. This is the first reason. And the second one is about dowry. It's a form of counter gift on the occasion of the girl marriage. A notion referring to Marcel Mauss. It is one way.
Marcel
Mauss. Thank you. It is one way to accommodate the girl. And on the other way is for the parents to receive money and movable possession, like a chair, computer, and TV. And the third reason, child marriage represents also a symbol for friendship and to resolve issues between two families. Is a recommendation. The father has the last word and his decision prevails. And another reason, child marriage is another way to prevent the girl from escaping expectation. These have their traditional reasons. Sometimes parents discourage their children from going to school because of the plan for schooling. This is a very powerful thing that affect rural area. In addition, child marriage persists. Is because of reckless, careless parents, fathers who refuse to pay for the dollar education. They say that a girl at school will get nowhere. That's the slogan that they use. This is an old phrase said over and over to girls as well to parents, that children at school will get nowhere. Basically.
So, thank you. So, Christine, about 30% of women in Benin between 24 and 20, said that backwards, were actually married early, although we know that legally, marriage can only be legally between an 18-year-old man and woman, unless there is a special exemption by the court. What impact has this early marriage actually had on girls' education in Benin?
OK. Pour répondre à cette question, c'est très simple. L'impact du mariage précoce sur l'éducation des filles est qu'il les empêche d'aller à l'école. The impact of that type of marriage on education, on girls' education, is that it prevents them from going to school. Full stop, just that. It's a manner to not allow them to go to school. That is the impact, nothing else.
So if if a girl is married, she does not have the opportunity to go back to school.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so thank you for that answer. So in 2007, the government began developing the national education system to provide universal primary education for girls and to help girls with school fees for secondary education, specifically if they were studying sciences and IT. In spite of this help, enrollment has remained low. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, yes. The government, Beninese government tried to discourage those who used to keep their daughter at home, because all of us, we know that it's not a good thing. So the creator government decided to discourage these awful practices and exploitation shamelessly. And he created a slogan which is every girl to school. All the girls have to go to school. And the impact of that slogan was that the inscription to primary school had increased, whereas the secondary school didn't move at all. So I think that some help, financial help, maybe from the government or even from groups or organisms who are sensitive to that cause could help could contribute to arrange that situation, to change the mindset, I think, because the government had started the job and everyone has to help as well. That is the impact of that action of government. Going to school, to primary school, has increased because they were encouraged. That was a very good thing that he did. We could see on the, what we say, in the towns, all girls have to go to school, and they were dressed in the school dress with the bag on them, and we could see it in the country. It was very flagrant at that time. That's all.
Okay. All right. So one of the things, so we talked about the financial cost and the support that the government has given, but in addition, girls have to overcome taboos associated with menstruation. It makes it difficult for them to participate fully in society. It impacts their overall social status and self-esteem. So are women and girls living in poverty, do they have access to menstrual supplies and menstrual information?
Poverty doesn't allow them to reach these informations. No, because they didn't have means. They didn't even rural women. They are just in the area. No way to get information. That is so sad, honestly. Okay, but the thing is that the associates this kind of tools, we could say in bracket, they have associated them to illness like what do we say, VIH, SIDA, we say in French. Laxine, excusez-moi, ces tabous-là sont liés, les tabous de menstrues sont liés à la santé reproductive, aux maladies infectieuses telles que le VIH et autres. Donc, les filles et les femmes vivant dans la pauvreté sont dépourvues d'informations et de produits menstruels. Au Bénin, il existe une vingtaine de structures qui s'adonnent à la sensibilisation, dont la fondation de la première dame du Bénin, Fondation Claudine Talon. Alors, je saisis l'opportunité pour féliciter et remercier cette fondation-là. Voilà.
The answer to this question is this issue relating to menstruation is a problem of reproductive health, infectious diseases such as HIV and others. So no girls and women living in poverty are able to access to information and menstrual products. So a program used was about understanding the female body. That was put in measure. So then that's what the government decided to put. And in Benin, around 20 structures are available, including those for the First Lady of the Republic of Benin, the Claudine Talon Foundation. They placed 20 structures in place, so to help female women and girls when it comes to menstruation and reproductive health.
Okay, so thank you. And so this work, I think you mentioned that it was done by the Claudine Talon Foundation, and that you wanted to thank them for their work as well. So I wanted to make sure that we got that in. So what do you think the long-term impact of the pandemic will be on girls' education in Benin? And what strategies, if any, do you think will be effective in restoring or exceeding the levels of enrollment that you had before the pandemic?
Mm-hmm. Les effets de la pandémie à long terme sur la scolarité pourraient se révéler catastrophiques. Il faut s'attendre à des décrochages. Cela veut dire que les jeunes filles peuvent, ou même les garçons peuvent arrêter simplement leur scolarité. Et donc, comme stratégie, moi je pense qu'un programme de sensibilisation sur une partie de la scolarisation par une mesure subventionnelle de l'État, comme une solution relative afin d'encourager et de rétablir, de doubler peut-être le niveau d'inscription des filles avant la pandémie serait possible, malgré la bonne volonté de l'État. Eh ben, celui-ci n'aurait pas les moyens de réaliser ce programme. Voilà.
Like
Cependant, les organismes qui seraient intéressés à aider un peu dans ce sens-là pourraient aider au redémarrage avec des mesures comme, par exemple, mettre des fournitures scolaires à la disposition de tous de manière inclusive afin de maintenir les filles à l'école, dans leur scolarité et sous une surveillance bienveillante. Comme ça, les filles restent là, elles se sentent, elles comprennent qu'on s'occupe d'elles et sont incitées à poursuivre leur scolarité. La deuxième mesure que je suis en train d'entrevoir, c'est par exemple la création d'une cantine scolaire. Et là, ce serait un moyen à coup sûr qui a plus d'intérêt à plus d'un titre pour les retenir à l'école, pour les inciter à poursuivre les cours. Et ce moyen existerait quand même en projet. On ne dirait pas que le Bénin ne manque pas de penser à ces choses-là. Seulement, tous les établissements ne pourraient pas en bénéficier. Donc, c'est ça, faute de moyens.
Thank you.
Okay, based on what she says, so the strategies that we will, for the long term, will be the long-term impact of the pandemic on girls' education in Benin is likely to be catastrophic. The class session, which take about like 9 months, will be covered in 3 months. And certainly delays will happen. Stalls have certainly taken place. As a strategy, we can think of an awareness program subsidized by the government as part of the relative solution to encourage, restore, and perhaps to double the level of education of girls before the pandemic. Despite the goodwill of the government will not be able to carry out the program. Another strategy can be organizations that decide to help will then be able to adopt these strategies, such as making supply available to all in an inclusive manner to keep girls in school and under good supervision. And also building a school canteen. Like she mentioned, that's also one of the projects that she's planning to do, which will certainly be effective and would exist as a project. But because of lack of fund resources, not all schools would benefit from it.
Okay, so thank you. So we have probably time for one last question, and the one that I'm going to pick is that I want to talk about the fact that Benin, most of the population, or a good portion of the population, approximately 1/3, is impoverished. And so we know that families lack many resources, but research has told us that according to the World Bank, the level of poverty amongst female-headed households or women-headed households is less than the level of poverty amongst male-headed households. Can you explain that to us a little bit? How are women more successful in this way?
Oui, alors le succès des femmes, des familles dirigées par des femmes est fondé sur la ténacité de celles-ci. Les hommes, dans leur logique de polygamie, ils ont les idées éparses, tandis que les femmes se concentrent absolument sur leur occupation en s'appliquant à réussir comme elles le peuvent. Voilà, c'est ça, moi, ma réponse. Elles sont très tenaces, ces dames-là. Voilà.
The success of families led by women is rooted in the tenacity, the courage. Men found theirs in the logic of having many marriages, while women are focused absolutely and on their occupation, striving to succeed as best they can.
Okay, so thank you for that. So, Hanan, are there any questions that you'd like to share before we move on?
Real quick, I think there's a question in the audience.
Yes, okay. I have something to say. Of course, that this is a way, in relation to your concerns, believe that today we can know about Benin and its people. There are, however, many unspoken things that have remained unanswered. For example, questions relating to religion, kinship, male domination, and even female domination, and issues related to development and poverty, as well as relation between Africa and other continents. So they are main questions which are in suspense. They are just a few paradigms. So just to today we can't go really deeply, but just that. Thank you very much for having me and listening to me.
All right. So Hanan, would you mind reading the question if you would?
Pardon?
So the African Council Swiss has their hand raised. I was wondering if you would like to speak out your question.
Perfect.
Yes, I just wanted to find out if this phenomenon that exists in some African countries also exists in Benin. Like in Nigeria, for example, there is a huge difference between girls' education in the South Christian part of the country and in the North Muslim part of the country, in which case the northern part, the majority Muslims, do even discourage young girls from going to school. And I'm sure you have heard of the cases whereby hundreds of girls were kidnapped from their schools as a way to discourage them from coming to school. Do you have a similar situation in Benin?
Okay, so thank you for the President of African Counseling to ask that question. Paradoxically, we don't register things like that about, of course, that naturally boys and girls are together and they try to tease them, to say naughty things to them, to discourage them, and it's so difficult, honestly. It's a phenomenon that from the deep of you, things like that happens, and we have that. But what is happening in Nigeria with kidnapping children, girls mainly, thank God, we didn't hear about that in Benin. But I have to keep my mouth, because when it's going, don't say too much about that to attract things like that. We don't have that in Benin. We haven't heard that in Benin yet. But there is another type of thing which is dreadful. It is that they used to, inside the country at one time, they used to steal children, mainly young girls, to go to Nigeria to work for them. And when they steal them, children, they don't come back. And I think that it's a phenomenon which is general it is transversal, and you found it everywhere. So that's what I could give as an answer to that question.
So can I respond to that also? So just to the person who asked the question, was your question really focused on religion in terms of the impact of religion and girls' access to education?
Yes, it has something to do with the religio-cultural aspect of the society, because like in the case of Nigeria, the religion influences the culture of the society, in which case, mostly in the southern part that embraced Western education some centuries ago, it is easier, except for the case of funding, for children, young girls and boys to go to school. They are encouraged to go to school. Whereas in the northern part that has culturally Islamic culture, it is not the case. In most cases, they are encouraged to into early marriage, even when they are under teens. They are encouraged to marry as early as possible. And this is just a cultural, societal climate, not just because of these fundamentalist groups that exist, but the society is in the North does not encourage girls' education, because a girl is meant to be married off as soon as possible. And you see men in their 60s getting married to a girl of 16, 15. And they don't, there's no shame on it. It is allowed. And I find that a bit disturbing. And that is why I wanted to know if such phenomenon exists elsewhere, or whether it is just within the borders of Nigeria. Thank you.
Just if you allow, you know, in the north of Benin, the majority, the common religion is mainly Islam. And what you just said, it's what is happening. From the age of 14, people they just married the daughter, and I think that it's the same image that we have through Benin in the north, going towards Nigeria, going through Niger, and so on and so forth. I think that it's the same, nearly the same habit of doing things like that. Yes, it has its deep meaning in the religion, and it's also sometimes cultural, both of them. Yes.
And so I would say to the speaker, but to you as well, Christine, that governments have agreed that this religion or this early marriage of girls is not legal, but it continues to happen. So has the governments, what have these governments, I'll pose this to the speaker as well, what is the government in Nigeria, how have they, and how energetically have they tried to stop the practice?
Okay, do I have to come in here?
Go ahead.
I could say that honestly, not much is being done in this regard. The reason being that even the political leaders are also involved. Even the cultural leaders are also involved. We have in Nigeria a member of Senate who was once a governor of a state before he enters into the Senate, getting married to a 16-year-old girl. It is somebody in the government, not some illiterates somewhere out there. And you have an emir supposed to be a traditional ruler that takes charge of Muslim faith, who is perhaps the second most important emir in Nigeria, also getting married to a minor. So with that, it is difficult. Of course, there are some groups that advocacy groups that are talking about it, and but the problem is that they always mix up Islamic rules with other cultural societal rules, because many will tell you that Islam does not forbid that, and therefore nobody should stop them from doing that. So it is still a huge problem in Nigeria, and it is still happening, unfortunately, especially in the north. Of course, there are also some few cases you will get in the south, an adult pregnanting a minor, but not necessarily getting married, because people are a little bit more aware in the southern part. But unfortunately, in the northern part, it's still a big issue. And what makes it even more disturbing is that some political elites are also part of the problem. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, Christine?
Mm-hmm. Yes, Celeste, I understand all what you said, and I do agree that there are all kinds of things we could see in Africa towards marriage, and let us say even marriage. There are many kinds of types of marriage. There we are speaking about only that prescribed marriage, and others are many, and all that for the woman to be happy, to find her happiness, it depends on the type of marriage she was in, she went through, and it's another question. Marriage is where all kinds of things, how you learn life, all is in that pack, in that frame of stock. It's not easy. It's not easy, and all what touch marriage is something which is in the mindset. How would you try to get rid of that from children, people's mind? It's very difficult, very difficult. Nowadays, with the new education we are getting, it is opening all our point of view and how we could act with modernity, and it is changing the way we conceive marriage. That is really deep. It's not a matter of 1 hour or 2 hours, but it's very deep.
Okay. All right. So again, I'm going to say thank you. Thank you to our participant for the question. That question alone could be a whole conversation of many hours. And so thank you, Christine. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Again, I'll remind you about the survey. And if you want to get more information about our upcoming events, feel free to visit our website. If you would like to actually listen to our past events, you can find a link to that on the website, as well as you can find our events on YouTube. So with that, I'll say thank you and enjoy the rest of your day, evening, whatever, depending on wherever you are in the world. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much for the attendees. Thank you.
Alrighty.
Yes, thank you.